Oh, okay. Hey, and welcome to my Tech Tuesday. We're going to talk about Scratch. I think this is only going to be about 30 minutes, so I'm going to show some of the basic functionality of it and share some of the stuff that I've seen Scratch used for and answer any questions that you have about how you might use this with your students or what you might do with it. I wanted to start by giving a quick plug to code.org. The reason why I wanted to do that is because code.org actually is sort of similar in its functionality to Scratch, but it has a lot. Hey, Lori, welcome. Can you hear us? Any copy, Lori? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can now. Hey, welcome.
Okay.
We're just getting started. Code.org has a lot of the structure that supports the creation of classes and the tracking of student information. The only thing I'd say insofar as my understanding of the two compared systems now is that code.org would lend itself a little better to the younger group. So I think teachers who are looking for something to expand after their code.org exploration, I think code.org is the ideal starting place for younger kids, even pre-readers. But I think eventually you're going to want to get to this point where you have some more complex interactions and you have some more functionality and some more sandbox sort of free play sort of systems. So let's start by taking a look at the code.org website, the scratch.mit.edu website. And this is the basic structure of the site. Can you guys see my cursor on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Anyway, so there's a few main points I'd like to capture on this main screen. We can always go back here by clicking the top here. If you want to just jump right in and start coding and making things, we're going to click Create. We want to see what some of the other projects that have been done by people. We're going to click Explore. They also have tips and stuff like that, but there's a few other things that I think people overlook on this main page. Down here we have the About Scratch, and then we have this For Educators section here. And I think this is sort of a nice breakdown of different resources and materials that are available for educators. There's a TED Talk related to it. There's the educator resources, but if you scroll down, can you guys see my Scratch for Educators?
Yes.
So if you scroll down, you see this tips page, and I think, what grade level do you ladies work with?
Kindergarten through second. I do tech integration too for the school, so I work with elementary.
Oh, okay, okay. So I think this is, excuse me, this is a perfect sort of starting point for elementary students because it has tutorials for all of these different things that you can try. And understanding how to use Scratch with your students really kind of depends on what you want to do with them. And I think that's the tough question because it can do a lot of different things. But I think if we're looking at students like K through 2 or even just lower elementary students, we'd probably want to start simple. But it is a very simple interface, and they have tutorials and step-by-step guides. So let's say we wanted to create a race. I would just click Try It. Can you guys see my screen in it? Did it update live? So this is now the interactive interface, and this is how I begin my coding process. On the right, can you see all the way to the right column? Trying to move the videos. Can you guys see the right side?
Yeah.
So it says begin, and there's step-by-step processes for every single step along the way. This one might not be a great example for a lower elementary, but I think something like this, understanding that anything that you would want to do with this would be a possibility, and it's highly likely that there's a tutorial that actually guides you through each step of the way. And I think that's actually at least where my understanding comes in. So I'll go through a tutorial, I'll learn how to create a race, including sounds and scripts and different functionals. But I think that's the main point of it, is that once a kid has that basic understanding, they then can begin to take it to the next level and practice the modification of it, the variation of it. I understand the basic race. What can I do differently? And I think from that initial tutorial point, it branches off in a lot of different ways about how the kids can do different things. So if you guys are familiar with code.org, and I guess I'd probably be surprised if you weren't, but if you are familiar with code.org, code.org sort of gives you, to me, it's a little bit easier and it's a little bit more kid-friendly. So this one requires a little bit of basic understanding of some of the functionalities. Just like in code.org, we had different colored blocks or different coding blocks. In Scratch, we have different colored coding blocks that actually do different things. So we begin by motion. So if we say move 10 steps, I bring it over. If I click that block, even though I've not added any functionals, can you guys see my cat moving? I can turn it. So there's a lot of basic functionality there. I can drag my code pieces there. I can set them. I can actually reset it if I want to go to this position, X and Y. There's also looks. You can say hello. You can think, it looks like there might need to be a pause in between. Anyway, so here's the basic keys. Let me take a look at the agenda. So the very basic keys, the motion, how your sprite is what they call it, is moving across this screen. Looks for switching backdrops, switching sounds, switching costumes, how things appear on the screen. Actual sounds, so there's a list of a lot of different sounds. There's a sound bank, and you can actually record all of your own sounds. Putting a pen down and actually marking across the page, so you could create geometric shapes or do math processes or to just draw things. I haven't actually played a lot with the data, the variable list, but I've seen some very complex programs that people have written that sort of capture the essence of it. So events is almost always where I start, and I'll almost always drag this flag event. So what that means that whenever I click the flag, either here or here, it would begin to run the scripts that I've put in there. So if I put in a script for a move 10, turn right, and then I do like a control thing of repeat this 10 times, and I click it, it'll do all of those things 10 times. I feel like some of those pieces are a little bit more intuitive and kid-friendly in the code.org. So I definitely think that an exploration of Scratch is going to be related to some prior experience to the Blockly system that they would probably have been exposed to in code.org. So there's a couple other things you can do, and it gets a little bit complex. Like there's some sensing, there's operational commands, skip logic, that sort of thing, and then there's custom blocks. Not only can we affect the scripts, but we can also modify the costumes. There's tons of pre-built costumes in here, so they really, I know a lot of, it's a free thing, and so you would think that it was sort of the bare bones version, but they've really supported it with a lot of additional graphics and additional things like that. There's also a bank of custom sounds, but because you have your own custom sound editor, you really have the freedom to make whatever sounds that you want. So if your kids were recreating a scene from history or writing a play to capture some sort of content standard understanding, they could do so easily by recording sound bits here. You can actually modify the sprite. There's, if you wanted to do a plane, you could add a plane. So there really is a basically an unlimited functionality for the different things that you can do. It's not 100% intuitively obvious how some processes would look. If we want to make this plane fly, you actually don't necessarily animate the plane as much as you animate the background going by to make it appear like the plane is flying. All of these things will be done via here, this different help menu system. All of these different examples of projects that people have done, they break them down into animation, games, interactive arts. This one has been hugely popular from the get-go. Can you guys see Paint with Gobo?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So we can actually see what the individual who created this did to make it function like this. Again, we're going to click the green arrow to start it, and as you can see, Gobo will, for better or for worse, continually change colors and follow my cursor. Kids can also take a look at the structure of this code and see exactly how it happens. So I can start it again. I forgot this command here. So if you hit spacebar, it changes to a different costume. I'm not 100% sure of the potential academic use of that particular thing, but insofar as a demonstration of problem solving and critical thinking ability, I think it's a fantastic, very quick program. These programs, these little bits of code run the gamut of complexity. For example, I found this one looking around this sandbox editor. Are you guys able to see this?
Yes.
Yep. So so I was looking at it and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. Like someone really did a lot of homework in the creation of this particular project. And it's sort of an interesting functionality. So it's a basic sandbox in itself, but it's quite a complex program. So while someone might say, well, there's probably more advanced coding platforms for high school, middle school students to use, what you can see is that if you have a complex idea, you will be able to convey it within, you should be able to convey it within the software itself. It's not loading on my screen. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Can you guys see the graph in the sand box in the corner?
Yes.
Let's see if I can make it full screen. So it's sort of an interesting thing. Do you see how my cursor can manipulate the grains of sand?
Yep.
So then you can actually do different kind of experiments. You can add things that drop water and particles of sand. You can move things around. And so you're thinking to yourself, well, that's pretty neat. Like how did someone do that? Well, it actually is a ridiculously complex program that someone did. Can you guys see the script for the program itself?
Yeah.
Let me zoom out so maybe you can see.
Wow.
So it's a little bit hard to ascertain what is exactly going on. I wouldn't honestly know where to begin such a complex project, but it's really interesting to see that there's a lot of different things going on at the precise same time. So if we head back into do you guys want me to show you some more of the resources, or do you want to play around and try and do some Scratch yourselves or code some of your own tutorials? Let's get to the end, and then you guys decide if you want to mess around or what you would best suit your purposes. So back to the Scratch main website. I think at least one of the neatest things for me, and I would imagine that code.org will catch up in some way, shape, or form. Scratch has a gigantic interactive community, and I know that kind of makes people nervous, especially teachers, when you talk about online interactions, sharing projects, like. But it really is a very well policed and a very well maintained system with a giant amount of interaction. So someone will post a request for help and 10 people will reply. Someone will post a request for an idea and they'll get a lot of responses. If you can look at, can you guys see my screen here, the Discuss Scratch?
Yes.
So if you see this topic list, we're looking at 228,000 posts. The last one just a few minutes ago today. So it's actually a living community, which is a little bit different from some of the other systems that we see, which are sort of a one-way interaction. Here's me, I'm messing around with your coding, and that's it. This is a little bit different and a bigger stage. Here's me, I'm messing around with the coding, and I'm collaborating and sharing things with students around the world. They have one broken down for each. They have different countries. They have this website translated into a large amount of different languages. But I think I'm going to go back to this Explore thing, just so you guys can see some of the potential, maybe geometric possible applications. Can you guys see the Spirograph Designer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to start this program. So I think a lot of them, they're fairly simple in their structure and application, but it is, I think, the potential to display, and maybe not so much for the geometric standards related to kindergarten and lower elementary, but with the potential to illustrate, graphically illustrate, and share dimensions or whatever of a lot of different, or some different shapes that might be present in those grade levels. Is that it, Jackie and Lori, is that what you were looking for your experience? Like, is there something specifically that you wanted to know or understand about the Scratch interface?
No, I already do code.org, so I just wanted to see what else was out there. Because it seemed like pretty much when you're done with first grade, there's not that much. And my first graders are almost done with the whole entire lesson. So now they want to do Minecraft, but that's geared for second grade. So I'm trying to look for other things for them to do.
So Jackie, when was the last time that they were in code.org?
I can't remember because we've been doing other projects. I think it was beginning of January.
Okay.
Maybe December.
So, and I also do code.org trainings, and code.org, they changed their structure, so they should actually have curriculum. I mean, before they had some loosely designed classes, but they should now have curriculum specifically designed to align to grades now. And I believe it runs K-5. So you should be able to find, and your kids have already finished all of that?
On course B, yeah, almost.
Okay,
Course B, they're only doing course B because that one's geared to first grade. They're only doing that. They did that, but they're working with partners, and they are catching on so quickly. They're almost done.
Yeah. It really is amazing how intuitive technology can be for kids compared to some adults. But I think that's a fantastic place to start, and I think you could easily come up with interactions for K2 students. So if you just go back to the main site, and we don't even hit anything, all we do is click create.
Dan?
Yeah.
The other option, Jackie, if you have iPads, is Scratch Junior.
Yeah, I don't have access to iPads. All I have are Chromebooks.
Okay. All right. Because that's the kind of the pre-reading option, early reader option.
Can you guys see my screen? So this is just, I just went straight into the screen, and I think this is kind of a neat thing. Like, so instead of having your students learn about geometry via interacting with Scratch, I would have them learn how to do something and then later on integrate it with a content standard. So it's first just an exploration, sort of a problem-solving challenge, kind of a puzzle kind of thing. And once they have the skills, then you integrate the content standards in their interactions. Can you guys see along the right column here? So we have the step-by-step. So what do you mean step-by-step? Well, we could actually animate a name, we could make some music, we could make the cat fly, we could create a game, we could, all of these things are listed on the right. And if I clicked on one, it would actually initiate a step-by-step process with, I'll just show you, with, so okay, I'm gonna make some music. I can click play on the video if I want, or I can just click start, and it gives me, can you guys see it animates like exactly what they want you to do? And okay, so it seems very simple like that, and I think that's a great place to start. So let's see if I can close this, open it again, go back to all tips. So the other thing is another section on how to. So if you wanted to include X and Y effects, you could actually have them look through here. You could take a look at animation, making the sprite walk, making it talk. Here's games that we could make. Here's stories we could tell. I actually really love the idea of incorporating literacy and different writing projects via an interaction or a kid-coded interaction in Scratch. And I think you'll see like how quickly they begin at a basic level, representing a basic understanding, and then evolve very quickly to some very advanced understanding, even for young kids. So we also have a section on blocks, and so each of these blocks, the definition, or how do I say, the action of these blocks are all defined via this particular interaction. Every single thing that you might want to be able to do would be found here. At the end of the day, I don't know per se that if they had never had any experience with coding, I'd send them to Scratch first, although you could do that. You would have to do so a little bit more explicitly and less sandbox kind of style than they would if they had prior experience. But if they have extensive experience in block coding, I think they're ready to rock and roll directly into the Scratch interface itself. So let me show you guys a few more things. You can sort by projects. So I'm going to go back to the main site. You can sort by popularity. We're going to see some examples. Let's take a look at some games. And so you can see, yeah, this is not what I wanted. Actually, there is a sort, but I'm not seeing exactly where it's at. Back to explore. Oh yeah, sorry. So I can explore something that someone did in music, and I can do it by the most popular music. This looks like a game. Anyway, so I can check out art. I can check out all these different projects that people have made and shared. Interesting thing about Scratch is that it is not a you can't own anything that you do. Anything that you do within Scratch is actually Creative Commons licensed. So what happens a lot is, like that very complex one that I showed you guys, the sand one, like people would say, oh, that's cool, let me mess with that, and then go in and interact with that particular structure of code without having to start from scratch or begin anew. There's a couple other resources that I would be remiss to not share with you guys. This website here, the Scratch Ed GSE Harvard.edu, they've got a ton of different resources and stuff that supports Scratch, resources, discussions, news stories. click on resources. We can search by content level, education level. As you can see, in preschool and kindergarten, we've got 293 links. In elementary school, we've got 606. We've got it broken down by content type. We've got it broken down by curricular area as well as language. So all of these things I think would be great supplemental or support activities that might help you decide what would be a good interaction or investigation within Scratch itself. There is the Scratch Wiki. So it looks like it's moving to a new domain, and I think that might be related to the fact that Wiki is going away. Anyway, there's another ton of resources, another ton of materials, forums, links, websites, sort of an organizational approach. If I go down here and I look at scratch.mit.edu/statistics, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So it's kind of a neat interactive graph, and I can see that we're looking at about 3.5 million comments made in the Scratch forum in the 5th month of 2017. We also can see that there were just under 1 million new users, as well as just under 1 million new projects just in that month. How is that even possible? Anyway, if you follow the line backwards, you see that they made it at a certain point in time, and it took a little bit of time to get the word of mouth, the word out, and suddenly, bam, it's center. We're on the world stage here. That's all I really have designed for our 30-minute Tech Tuesday talk, but I am free and 100% willing to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Just as another resource as well, and it's something I just actually joined, there's a Facebook group too for some Scratch projects. I was trying to find the group name, but I'm sure if you search it, it's out there.
Okay.
But I just
Awesome.
joined it, but it's just another way to interact with some teachers if you're looking for that kind of resource.
Nice. I think I appreciate that, Lori. That's a great point. Is a lot of people are on Facebook, and a lot of people are sharing their activities, their resources, their lessons, their designs on Facebook. Do you guys have any other?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a lot of possibilities for this. When you look at, especially if you're starting with some coding in elementary, where you're introducing the kids to it, you can bring this into so many other areas of their curriculum. With math projects or history or reading, any of those kind of things. You can use this rather than say, I'm just getting some ideas based on what you were showing just in the past few minutes, rather than using, say, PowerPoint to create something. The kids can actually go in, use the coding skills that they're developing, and create an animation that they can use rather than another Google slideshow or a PowerPoint or something like that. So.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And I actually I think you ruin it if you only use it. But if you use it periodically to differentiate, to mix it up, I think you keep your kids on your toes, and they really can, it ups the ante, or I would say at a minimum increases student engagement.
Yeah.
As long as they're not learning how to code and the content at the same time, they learn how to code, or they learn what you need them to learn for a particular activity, then they jump in to represent that or to interact with the content in the platform itself. I think it could be a little bit frustrating if I had to learn about whatever we were learning about and learn how to code it at the same time. I think kids might be a little bit, some kids would be put off by that.
One thing I found too is I have a Girls Who Code club for my middle and high school girls, and I have several middle school girls who have really taken to it and are learning, programming and all of that. And when I take them back into Scratch, they look at it now and they say, "Oh, that makes sense. I know how to write that now. And so now I have those kids actually coming back into some classrooms with me to actually help the younger kids when they're a little bit lost. So it almost works in worked in reverse, I guess, for that group of kids. But there's a lot
interesting.
with it.
Yeah, that's really neat. What I tell some teachers is that it's okay if you're uncomfortable. Like, don't sweat it. If you would like your kids to go through a tutorial, I would imagine if they each had a computer, they would be able to go through it, and anywhere that they were stuck, there would be a few champions kind of in the room just pop up and say, "Oh, I can do it. Oh, I know. Oh, I get it." You know, like right away. And whereas the teacher might be like, I'm really not comfortable with it. That shouldn't be the limiting factor in the kid's ability to be exposed to it. But Lori and Jackie, you guys probably have done this. Like, if you guys are deep in coding, I'm imagining your kids have full exposure to code.org and all these other coding kind of platforms. And I think that's critical, at least to have your kids be able to make a decision for themselves if this is something that I'm interested in or something that I'd like to do. Do you guys have any other questions for me, or?
Nope.
Hey, thanks for coming to my Tech Tuesday. If you guys need any resources or anything, don't hesitate to ask. Do I have your email from the sign up?
I think so.
I think so.
I will send you this link so you guys can, at your own leisure, go through some of these different pieces that I have that I've shared with you guys and gone over.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I dropped the link to the Facebook group in the chat. Lori says that's the right link, the right group.
Oh, yes. Nice. Can you guys see the chat link?
Yep.
And so if you're looking for inspiration, that would definitely be another avenue to figure out what other teachers are doing, especially if it's a living community. I think that's the main thing. A lot of times a community will start and then it will fade. But if it's a living community, you can get a lot of good stuff. Teachers are interacting with it, posting on a regular basis. So what I'll do, Lori, I feel like you were at my last Scratch Tech Tuesday, like, was it last year or 2 years ago?
I was at the Esri training in fall.
Oh, okay, that's right. So
I was at that. Oh yeah, I was at your tie thing, and yeah,
I was like, okay, all right. I know I recognize you. So here's what I'll do.
Looking good at home on a snow day. So.
Oh, nice. You guys have a snow day?
Our second one, yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm close to Aberdeen. I'm at Warner.
Wow.
So, yeah, second snow day.
Wow, that totally missed us over here on the west side of South Dakota. Like, I think almost completely. We don't have anything in the hills. Jackie, where are you at?
Douglas, Wyoming.
Did you guys get any of the weather?
Yeah, but it's pretty much melted. We don't get snow days.
Yeah, I've heard.
Many set aside.
Oh no! Shoot, I've heard that before. They don't do snow days in Rapid City either, unless it's torrential.
Yeah.
We had one like last week, but it was just a couple days. I'm gonna stop recording this, Julie, so I don't have a bunch of extra stuff on the webinar. Anyway, here's what I'll do, ladies. I'm gonna send you guys the link to this document so you have the agenda for the Tech Tuesday. It'll have all these links for different things that you can check out and explore. Again, it may not even be that your kids are coding. You just want them to interact in a way that goes beyond reading a page in a book or watching a video. It is just another medium of interaction that eventually they might be able to learn to interact with and code themselves, which is a very powerful thing when compared to making a video or a book. Like it's sort of the whole deal. It puts the ball back in the court of the learner, and I think that's where it should be. But I'm just gonna stop the recording